Hello, and welcome to the 245th edition of Beer Issues. My name is Matt Brucker, and I'm coming to you from Casa de Brucker. We're going to be having another very good beer. Today, from Rogue Brewing Company, we're going to be having the Dead Guy Ale. This is the regular Dead Guy, not to be confused with the double Dead Guy, but this is the regular Dead Guy Ale. So I'm going to go ahead and pop this open, and we'll start talking about it. So first of all, you're going to ask, what is a Dead Guy Ale? It is Rogue's interpretation of a Maibock, or a Bock, or a Maibock. Okay. So when I pour it, I do see traditional Bock. You're getting the proper color in here. You're getting a nice off-white head. Just barely off-white, but mainly white. But I'm going to pour it a little bit aggressively there to get a little bit more of that smell out of it. So we're going to talk a little bit about that smell. Now this beer rates 89 out of 100, which makes it a very good beer. And it's rated the number 3 Maibock in the world. So that's impressive. So let's talk about this. I haven't had this in a while. I've definitely had this beer more than once, but it's been a while. The beer clocks in at 6.8% alcohol by volume. So it's a perfect, fits into that Maibock category very well, okay? I poured it into this snifter because I wasn't 100% sure, but I think the snifter would be the right beer for this, or right glass for this beer, based on alcohol content and everything like that. It's got a definitely a caramely type color. So let's smell it. So what I didn't get in this smell, which surprised me, I'll talk about it in just a minute, but what I did get is I got a bready, malty deliciousness, okay? Yep. Second smell the same, bready, malty deliciousness. What I did not get that I expected, because I've had this beer before, is I did not get the hop presence, okay? And I remember, I know when I taste it, it's gonna all come flooding back to me, but I remember this beer having a pretty strong or heavy hop bitterness, which is, Maibocks are usually kind of pretty well balanced between the malts and the hops. But I remember there being quite a bit of hops last time I had this beer. Now, it could be at that time I was not as big a fan of hops, so maybe it stood out a little bit more to me. So I don't know. But let's go ahead and waste no time. Dig in and see if I was right about the hops that I remembered. That is a delicious beer, and it's not near as hoppy as I remembered. It's a bready, malty, some caramel malts in there. Definitely finishes with a little bit of hops, but gosh, it's been such a long time since I've had this. You know, maybe I just the hops that were in there at the time just weren't my thing. But I'm telling you right now, this is a very well done Maibock. I haven't bought it for a while, and I think it's because like I said, the last time I had this beer, it was before I really started getting into hoppy beers. So this aftertaste of the hops, for me at that time, was hoppy. Now, it just looks like they balanced the beer good with it. Good amount. No, that's a great beer. That's a very good beer. It does say liberal use of bittering hops, and I wouldn't say it's all that hoppy. Now, if you don't like hops at all, this might be a little bit, because I distinctly remember that I liked this beer before, but I was not a big fan of how it finished with all the hops. But then again, at that time, I was strictly a malt head. I did not drink anything with hops in it. I drank malty beers and malty beers and malty beers, and that was it. Or wheat beers or other beers, but definitely not hoppy beers. I wouldn't drink it at all. As a matter of fact, when I first started drinking hoppy beers, I basically had to find a couple that I like, and then from there, I kind of expanded to the point that I started liking, even really hoppy beers. But this is a masterpiece of malts and hops. I would definitely agree with this 89 out of 100. Number 3 Maibock in the world. Wow. That's impressive. And Rogue does make some really, really good beers. I love the art on the can, of course, the dead guy. And then they also make the double dead guy. And they've got a whole series of the dead guy ale. But this is their original, the kind of the flagship one. It's a classic. It's definitely a classic. And it's been that tells you how long it's been since I had one. That I didn't even drink hoppy beers back then. I remember when hop beers started getting really popular. I'm like, not for me. Not for me. But I've also said that about several other kinds of beers. I've said that about sour beers, and I found a few sour beers that I like. Still not going to be my top favorite thing, because to me, sour beers, I almost don't consider them beer because of the way they make them. But they're different, something to try. You know what I mean? Rausch beers, smoky beers. I still am not a giant fan of those, but I've found some good German beers that were done with a light smoke that I think is definitely drinkable. It's still not something I would go out and look for. But this is a beautiful beer. It's of the true Maibock style. They nailed the taste through and throughout. They call it a heavy dose of bitter hops at the end. I don't even really think so. I think it's just a well done Maibock, my opinion. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So if you've enjoyed this, make sure you tell your friends about Beer Issues and how much fun we're having talking about great beer and drinking great beer. Make sure if they want any cool Beer Issues gear, go to shop.beerissues.com. And as my wife likes to say, I have beer issues.